There are a lot of videos that people have made about things that they wish they knew when they were 20 or in their 20s. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 things that I wish I knew back when I was in my 20s. I actually have about 15 things here, so as I'm going through this, if you feel like you'd like to hear the others, let me know down in the comments and I'll make a video in the future. So real quick, before we get to this list, I thought I should tell you that I'm 51 years old. A lot of people that have been making these sorts of videos, I'm sure the information is absolutely legit, but typically I've seen that they're between 30 and 40 years old. I mean, that's totally fine, but for me, I was probably in my late 30s when I really started to discover what I wanted to do with my future. Maybe I'm just a late bloomer. Now, these are not in any particular order, just the order that they came to mind. Number 1 is to become debt-free as soon as possible. So when I was in my early 20s, I was in a band, an electronic band, and it was expensive. But so I got out of college and I started making money. And so, of course, I started buying stuff. And I did what many 20-year-olds do, and I bought that stuff on credit. But I bought all this like audio gear and samplers and computers to make this music, and I bought it all on credit cards. On top of that, I had some student loan debt, and then I met my wife and we got married, and we had this combined debt that we had to get out of. And honestly, we didn't start to take that debt seriously until about our 30s. Bad idea. So the first thing I would do if I were you is I would pause this video and just go look up Dave Ramsey and follow everything he says. But for real, we get a salary or we start making more money, probably the most money we've ever made our whole lives, and we just want to get stuff. So if I could go back, yeah, I might get a few things, but I would not get a credit card. And I would do my best to speed through that process of getting through debt. Now, I know not everybody goes to college, but when it comes to debt, that is one of the biggest debts we can have. So that's a decision that you made to get those loans, and so you're responsible for them. So what I would do if I was doing it all over again is I would just live as simple as possible. It doesn't mean you need to be miserable and not spend any money, but take the majority of your salary or your pay and put it towards your debt and get out of it as soon as possible. If it is college debt, and you do this, you can get out of that debt within 1 to 3 years. And though that may seem like a long time of living that way, trust me, you don't want to drag that out 5 or 10 years because you're really just making yourself pay more money. So the second thing I would do is once I was out of debt, is I would start investing. Now, if you don't have any college loans or car loans, if you don't have debt to pay off, focus on investing now. If you do have loans, get out of debt first before you go this route. But this is so dumb, don't laugh, but I just didn't know any better. My parents had gotten me an IRA, and I think it had maybe $200-300 in it, and I didn't know anything about IRAs. So I was just like, oh, thanks very much, and I did nothing with it. A few years later, I looked at it, and it was going down, $290, $275. I was like, what's the point of this? It just loses money. So I paid the penalty and just took it out. Nobody had told me you need to put money into this every year. In fact, the best way to have an IRA, or ideally a Roth IRA, is to put the max in each year. And I'm not sure what that is. It's something like $5,000 to $6,000. Max that out every year. So that is, in retrospect, the very first investment I would have started, and I would have filled that up every year. Going back to Dave Ramsey, he says something like, if you get an IRA, in your 20s, and I think he just says put in like $1,000 a year for 5 years or something like that. Maybe it's more than that. But he said, if you even just do that and leave it, it'll compound over time and you'll retire with like $1 million. Man, I wish somebody had told us that. So if I was doing it all over again and I was out of debt or I had no debt, I would put the max in a Roth IRA every year as long as I can. Definitely 5 years in a row, but then I would continue that. Best thing is you just set it up as an automatic deduction from your paycheck and forget about it, and you will retire comfortably. My wife and I, we didn't start that until like our mid-30s, and so that really hurt us. Now, the other add-on I would do as well, this is stuff we didn't have in the past, is I would kind of diversify some additional revenue towards small things. So I'm not sure what you think about crypto, but I got a little bit in crypto. I use Fundrise as well to invest in some real estate. I haven't done EFTs or dividend stocks, but that's probably a good idea as well. That is passive income that will continue to build into the future. If our economy doesn't crash and burn, I guess. That's my dog. Gotta wait for her to stop itching herself. Number 3, and I don't know, maybe this is really hard to do in your 20s. This was the furthest thing from my mind, but begin to think about the future. Now, you don't know the future. That is in God's hands. I look back at the things that I did as jobs, and it was just all over the place. But in retrospect, not until probably about my early 40s did I see how God started to use all those different things. But regardless, I wish I had laid out a plan of where I was going or trying to go, and then reverse engineered that. Now, this isn't simply about money, but money comes into play when thinking about your future as well. And not thinking about it can cost you a lot. So one of those things is, do you want to have kids someday? That's great. Kids cost some money. I got 3 kids and 2 of them are daughters. That means there's weddings to pay for. And then if you have kids and they want to go to college, what's going to be your plan for that? And so you don't need to panic about this, but these are things to consider when looking off into the future. And again, in my 20s, I was just excited to meet somebody and get married and start a life. And I'm sure you are too, or maybe you're already there, but start to think about, what does the future look like and how do I need to prepare now? And since those first 3 things really do focus on finances, I would find myself a good financial manager. Some people say your financial manager shouldn't be a friend. Ours is, because I would rather have somebody I can trust that's thinking about me, that cares about me, rather than somebody that I'm just a number or just a client where they can kind of just let us go and not even look at our investments. All right, number 4, I know this is kind of further down the list. Like I said, it's not in priority order, but this is really important, and that is develop your relationship with the Lord daily. I totally get that everybody is different with this. I became a believer at 18 years old, so it wasn't really, I wasn't far off in my 20s from when I had first come to know the Lord. But I got the opportunity to go to a Christian college. I grew a lot there. And I think in my early 20s, I just thought I had it all figured out. I thought I had my theology. And the truth is, theology and studying scripture and growing in a relationship with the Lord is a lifelong process, and it completely does evolve over time. So even though I think, yes, we absolutely should be firm in our beliefs and the doctrine that we hold to in our theology, we also need to hear other people and hear other sides. I went to seminary, and there was 2 particular doctrines, I guess, that I swore I would not change on. And I was thinking that because I knew this seminary kind of felt differently. I agreed with the majority, but I was not going to change on these 2 things. But then I heard the arguments, I heard the other side, and I changed on both of those things. And so the statistics. I mean, so many people leave the church in their 20s, and I think it just comes down to not some kind of hatred of God, but maybe apathy and busyness and life. But man, I'm telling you, pour into your relationship with the Lord then. I've seen so many people face some difficult circumstances, especially in their 20s, whether it's relationships or family members passing away. And as a result of not having a firm faith built, they walk away from it. Man, it breaks my heart to see that sort of thing. Spend time with the Lord every day. Get your head in scripture every day and build that strong foundation now. Okay, number 5, the last one. Now I got like 10 more here. So again, if you want to hear more, let me know and I will gladly make some additional videos. But here it is. Don't live with a grass is greener mentality. And that is really in relation to, I think, both work and relationships, those 2 things. For some of you, it's going to take a long time to find the work, to find the job that you really enjoy waking up and going to each day. There's going to be some trial and error. Now, I personally don't think you should just try a job, and if you're kind of uncomfortable there, you just quit. Give it some time and feel it out because it takes a while to kind of settle in. Please don't become a quiet quitter. Dumbest thing I've ever heard. But throughout that whole process of finding the job that you really enjoy, savor those moments. Learn from those moments. Kind of squeeze them for what they're worth and get the knowledge and the experience from those things and remember them. I have a long resume, and it wasn't until my mid-40s that I actually found my dream job. But I don't regret all those past experiences leading up to it. They all fed into the work that I do today. And don't forget that you have a sovereign God that knows exactly what he's doing. He uses both those good and those bad experiences not only to build character, but to give you tools and resources for your future. So savor those moments, and the same is completely true for relationships. Whether you are dating or you're married, pour into your boyfriend or girlfriend or your spouse. Treasure those moments. Kids are absolutely awesome, but when kids come, that time with your spouse alone ends up being very limited. Of course, if you are there and you do have kids, be very intentional about having date nights and spending that quality time together. Another piece to that as well, I mean, I don't really live with all kinds of regrets, but I do wish I'd spent more intentional time with my kids. I was working and I was going to seminary, and time was so limited, and I feel like my kids' childhood was just like a blur. So be really intentional to be fully present with the people that you love. And the reason why I'm telling you to be fully present now and not always looking off into the future is because that future is hurling towards you so fast. I think probably anybody who is 40 years or older knows what I'm talking about when I say time speeds up every single day. If you're 40 or older and you know what I'm talking about, let me know I'm not alone in the comments. To me, these days, a day feels like a second. They go by so fast. Something about me is I'm really a night person. I stay up late and I kind of get up relatively early as well. So I get about 6.5, 7 hours of sleep a night. I know I should be getting more. But I've realized that I think I do that because I want to get the most out of the days because they go by so fast. But I completely get it. You're young, you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, you're looking to get married, or maybe you have kids, and life is exciting. And that is awesome. So my advice here is to fully enjoy those moments and don't be always looking off to the future. So those are about 5 of the 15 things that I can think of that I wish I knew back in my 20s. Okay, so we all have a phone. If you want a tool to help you live life to the full, watch this video next. Number 6 is, as a man, know that you're going to be sneezing a lot more and a lot harder the older you get. It's a fact.